Yay! I hope we're online successfully.
Yes, we are.
Great! So,
こんばんは。Good
morning,
evening.
good
Good morning.
good afternoon,
はい。
everyone. Welcome to Hutch and Tomo's podcast called Tanucast. I'm really happy to welcome you all. And thank you for your comments on Perfection. Thank you!
Good morning, Zombie 5 Vixen.
So, we will
Our topic
have
today
kind of
is gonna be Nostradamus effect in 1970s Japan.
Yep. All your comments and questions are welcome, but especially for the questions, we will cover up at the very last of the presentation. So
allow me to just allow us to just keep going.
yes. So maybe start.
Yes, we're gonna start.
Okay. Yep.
So from the very first, just who the hell is Nostradamus?
Yep.
I'm gonna start with that. So Michel Nostradamus, he's a 16th century French guy. He was a doctor, astrologist, and poet, and later on he became known as a great prophet, supposedly.
Wow.
Predicting so many, historic events that happened afterward.
Yep. Interesting.
And he's best known for making a book, which is called Les Prophéties. I think it's in French. So it's a collection of poems, which were all prophecies, prediction of what's gonna happen in the future.
Interesting.
Truth, I'm not sure if it's true or not, but people after him, at least interpreted it in the book in that way. And as people have long studied his prophecies afterward, mainly in Europe,
so
it became kind of boom after 20th century. And many people claim that he predicted many historical events.
I see.
Like Napoleon III's defeat, or the emergence of Nazis, or Hitler's World War, all those stuffs.
I didn't know that. Very interesting.
Similar things happen as late as 1970s in Japan too. One specific thing is that people were mostly interested in just one verse that's talked about something that's called the King of Terror that would coming in the year 1999 and 7 months, which is usually interpreted as July 1999. So people thought there would be something terrible happening then.
Yep. Oh, thank you for coming, Samurai Bakko. Appreciate it. Yes. I don't know how.
Now it pretty much makes us laugh.
Yes.
Now it's 2020.
Yes, already.
But back then people were so shocked. And there's a number of books published, literally a number by a variety of authors. So there was a huge Nostradamus boom.
Yes.
Starting from the 1970s.
Yes. Very unique, huh? I don't think
it is unique.
It's not that kind of. It didn't happen in rest of the world like 1970s or something.
At least not quite radical way like this.
So
it wasn't just some random thing that happened. It's got some reason behind it actually. So we're gonna take a look at the social context back then, like 1970s Japan.
Let's go!
So what makes it such huge movement? My opinion is mostly because people are expecting the end of the world. Like in late 1960s or early 1970s back then.
Mm-hmm.
So what made people thought in that way? Let us take a look.
Yes. We will see what happened in that era in Japan.
So it pretty much started in the middle of the 20th century. At the end of World War II, 1945. People were pretty much among the ruins. Back then people had nothing.
I see, yes.
The houses were all burnt down. All the infrastructure was broken. People couldn't even have a job. They didn't even have money, foodstuffs.
Yep, that's the end of the war.
Yes, it was. But from 1945 onward, it actually was a great age. Was the age of great leap. People saw tremendous development, almost incredible development in terms of science, technology, and economy. In Japanese economy.
Yeah, compared to the past, yes. There was tremendous, very significant change.
Which was so fast and almost incredible. People saw fast development of technology and society. So back then people pretty much believed amazing future. Future is gonna be so amazing that it pretty much is impossible to imagine. So people made so many predictions about the future, like 2000, like Japan, like how towns in Japan would look like in 2000s, or like 100 years ago, which is like 2060s or so.
I see. Many bright future.
This is one of the predictions, which pretty much describe a flying saucer.
Wow!
Which doesn't require any runway to take off.
Awesome!
I'd say partly it's true.
Right.
That's something that's called VTOL or STOL thing. And some airplane in real life could take off like that.
Yes.
Some of them doesn't really require runways.
So
but
partially,
yes,
it
partially
became true,
it became kind of true. Although it didn't necessarily be a spherical shape.
Like
this. It didn't have to be a flying saucer. Well, this one is interesting.
Wow.
One illustrator.
2061.
One illustrator imagined how Tokyo would look like in 2061.
Wow.
Like 100 years later, when this was actually published.
Whoa. Interesting.
You can see tall building.
Yes.
With on top of which you got a heliport.
Yes.
You can see all those random aircraft that were taken off, and you can little highway with a floating cars.
Whoa. And
which hasn't come true in real life though.
Yeah.
We still have 40 years.
Yes, still have 40 years, exactly. And this little girl has kind of newsletter from Mars, it seems.
Right,
Wow.
it actually says Mars news or something. So people believe that mankind will get to Mars, and actually build a habitat there.
Yeah, it looks so.
People thought the future would be so amazing.
Yes.
Because, people saw a great leap from the ashes to a huge building. Like in 1964, there was an Olympic in Tokyo. Yes,
right. So many, It
really cheered up people. Like people thought it was no longer like a wartime or after war. Now people thought back then, yes, now we are in the new age, new and great age. We are no longer evil loser country. Instead, we are officially part of the international society, which in terms of its position and the level of science and technologies.
I see.
The futures were so bright back then.
Yeah, back then.
But things almost always have a backlash. In Japan's case back then, it was pollution.
Oh yes, I learned from the history class.
Right, this actually was so severe. People started to notice that there was some disease. People were affected by severe pollution, and it's actually harming people's health. Like back in 1940s or 1950s.
Yeah.
But it pretty much took time to actually the companies who's responsible for it to admit that yes, it's our fault. We are gonna compensate for what's happened. We're gonna support those who are affected.
I see.
It took such a long time, like 10-20 years.
What?
People made a great effort. People had to make. Yes, it says major court cases against chemical companies. One of the most famous one is called Minamata disease.
Yes, I knew it. I learned.
It's got its name. It's city named Minamata City in Kyushu. That's why it's got a name like that.
I see.
So people saw we cannot just keep going.
I see.
We have this backlash, and the future may not be as bright as we thought.
Maybe could be kind of disaster or something. Understandable.
It could be. People thought the future could be disastrous. Also, escalating Cold War. That's one thing that get people so worried. Like one of the most representative thing is Godzilla versus Hedorah. Wow! It's a direct reference of what was happening back then. Hedorah, the kaiju on the left, was literally born in a river that was heavily polluted.
Oh, yeah.
So it's a rather radical representation of pollution and the radical development. And chemical companies are truly killing people. That's what the movie is all about.
Interesting.
So, and the future prediction in 1970 saw a radical change, one of which is like this.
Wow!
It almost seems so random,
all
but
the cities are underwater.
Yes, because of all the pollutions and environmental effect on the effect of human activity on environment. The sea level rose, and all the city were all going underwater. So people had to swim. People have to go swimming and hunting all those sea creatures.
Wow!
On the left, it's got an interesting description. People have to either pick to get a air tank or two tank, or become a cyborg.
Become cyborg.
Become a cyborg to adapt the new environment.
Wow.
The water world. It's an interesting idea.
Yeah, very interesting.
That's another one. That's another one of the doomsday scenario.
Woof.
It's interesting.
Arc of space.
Arc of space. Literally, it really is a direct reference of Noah's Ark, but it's about whole Earth.
Wow!
So the premise is the Earth suddenly stops rotating.
Wow!
I don't know. It explains it as some strange activity on Earth, on the sun, and Earth stopped rotating, and now Moon is falling.
Whoa!
So it's pretty much doomed. So they have to leave the Earth. So animals first, maybe some people too, and all that's left is to stay the Earth and have to see the doomsday.
Oh my gosh!
It's one of the scenario that's written in a kid's book that how the world would end.
Wow!
So in a sense, people pretty interested in the doomsday scenario. How the world end. What consequence are we gonna see of of the consequence of what people were doing back then?
I see. Ho.
And then in 1973, this particular book came. Maybe you could say it's the first book that popularized Nostradamus in Japan. So the author is Goto Ben. So this book basically picks up a variety of verses written by Nostradamus, and he interprets along citing all the theories of what he calls other scholars of Nostradamus. And basically he concludes this verse talked about this happening.
Yes?
So he was telling the truth.
Wow.
He predicted this, he predicted that. Yes, he indeed is a great prophet. And he also mentioned the King of Terror in year 1999, and he associated it with the end of the world.
Wow.
So,
very shocking thing.
Right? According to Nostradamus, the world will end in 1999.
Wow.
It was so sensational.
Yes, I guess so.
Actually, it sold 1 million copies in just 3 months.
What the? Wow,
and
copies!
1 million copies.
That's so many.
Right, yes, it got so popular that Goto eventually, like over the following 20 years or so, wrote 9 more books.
9 more books!
9 more books talking about this particular verse of the King of Terror.
Oh.
It almost makes me laugh when I talk about it right now.
Interesting.
Literally, half of this book is used for talking about what's gonna happen in the year 1999. So
wow.
how the world will end, what we can do, what's gonna happen. Is there any hope like that? Anything like that?
Wow. Maybe very catchy.
Right,
I guess.
so catchy. But you gotta be careful. It's not really scholarly correct.
Yeah.
You can't really believe this. Some people even critique that this is fictional. It's his novel, not a scholarly work. It is true that some people pointed out that some references or a theory that he cited in the book doesn't really exist.
What?
He actually made up some. He even made up some of the verses that Nostradamus didn't really say.
What? That's not what he should do.
You know it's not right.
Yeah.
But it makes things so sensational. So catchy.
Alright, okay. Understood. He is really good at kind of controlling people's
yes,
mind.
He literally offered right thing at the right timing. And it gets so sensational that it pretty much affected the main culture of Japan back then. For example, we got some effect on popular pop culture, like this one, the Fist of the North Star.
Yes, I knew him very well.
And the famous opening of in the year 1990X, the world ended. The author pretty much thought about year 1999.
Nice.
It's obviously it's got obviously the effect of Nostradamus verse.
I see. Hey.
And in this book, he talked about his theory of like what's gonna happen in 1999, how the world would end. Let's go take a look at his theory.
Okay.
So the first one is pretty much clear: the World War III nuclear attack.
Wow.
So his scenario back then was. Back then, the world had United States, USSR, the Soviet Union, and China, which all have nuclear weapons. He thought it was not realistic that those nations go directly into war.
Wow.
But instead, the smaller nations under their influences might start a proxy war. So it's not really a direct war at the beginning, but it's gonna get bigger eventually.
I see.
If it gets bigger, those bosses, United States, USSR, gonna have to get involved. And that's when the war happens, and we got a nuclear war, and we are doomed.
Yeah.
That's one of his theory.
It sounds kind of
feasible.
Yeah, feasible. Yeah.
And it's got a punchline that Nostradamus couldn't predict the collapse of USSR.
Wow.
Next one is satellite weapons. Back then, United States was trying to actually make one. A laser-mounted satellite, which is to shoot down a nuclear missile.
Wow.
So pretty much the same scenario. There will be a war, and United States and USSR then would use a satellite weapon like satellite launched nuclear missiles or lasers, and it's gonna get the world end. It's over.
Okay.
That's alright, Shiro Luffy.
Yep. Thank you for coming.
It's like a future prediction made back in 1970.
Yes.
So next one of his theory was a comet would hit the Earth.
Boom.
It's interesting that he thought this scenario, he called this scenario unrealistic.
Oh.
Because, it's something strange, but it's because his reasoning was that Nostradamus actually mentioned a comet in other verses in his book.
I see.
And because he rarely mentioned like the same event twice in his prediction book.
Oh, interesting.
So there would be he thought there would be no way that he meant comet in this prophecy about 1999.
Just a mistake, duplicate or something, possibly.
Right.
I have no idea.
But you can pretty much say this is bullshit. You can't call it a reasoning. You are just saying random thing.
Right.
And
exactly.
you can just laugh. He thought about alien invasion.
Well,
not quite interesting. The last one of his theory was massive air pollution worldwide.
Yeah, maybe this sounds kind of maybe more feasible than alien invasion because as Hatch said, there were kind of very serious pollution events in Japan. So maybe people can more gonna accept this idea.
And yes, back in 1970s, to Japanese people, this seemed pretty realistic. And Goto himself called this scenario most feasible. The most likely. Yes, actually, Samurai Gakko. But after all, none of that happened in the year 1999. At least not yet.
At least not yet.
And so now, in 2020, people in Japan wouldn't really have a slightest interest in Nostradamus' book.
No.
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
Because the most sensational prophecy, it wasn't quite right.
Not at all.
But it was such a boom back then, and many people followed. And many people wrote about their interpretation of this verse, and I'm gonna go through other theories from other authors, other books.
Oh, really? Very interesting.
So it's by somebody else. So his theory was, it's kind of complicated. So there's a moon of Jupiter called Io. His theory is Io is gonna fall to the Earth.
Wow.
And it's gonna destroy the world.
Really? The way from Jupiter?
All the way from Jupiter.
Wow.
He has a really specific scenario that he believed that there was a, I don't even know how to say. So there's a secret organization that controls the world without anybody really knowing. And they have a missile. They have a nuclear missile. Of course, nobody knows that. And they're gonna launch the missile all the way to Jupiter and break apart the moon Io. So that it's gonna crash into three big fragments. And one of them eventually, by a mysterious power, go all the way to the Earth instead of falling to Jupiter. And it's gonna destroy the world. That was his theory.
It's ridiculous. I can't believe it.
Right. Obviously, he had no idea of how physics works.
Yeah, right. So, is there any other thing?
So many other things. It's from other book, which insisted that the verse was talking about one of the Secretary General of United Nations.
What?
So, I don't even know how to say, but the 1999 thing was about Javier Perez de Cuellar, the Secretary General in 1990s, and the armistice of Iran-Iraq war. So he decided to stop a war between Iran and Iraq that happened back then in 1999. So this verse was not really about 1999, but instead 1990.
Hi.
So the verse was actually talking about this armistice of Iran-Iraq war. The reasoning is that in the original French language, the King of Terror was pronounced like "du effrayer."
Wow, it's so hard to pronounce for me.
Which he insists sounds close to de Cuellar, his name.
Oh, what?
So it's not the king.
Another ridiculous thing.
It's whole bullshit. So he said it wasn't the King of Terror. If you actually read it in French, it says "du effrayer," which sounds similar to de Cuellar. So it was talking about Secretary General of United Nations.
So bullshit.
It's bullshit.
Yeah. So ridiculous.
So ridiculous. Next theory was a Saturn probe, which was launched in 1999. It's one famous guy, Saturn probe Cassini.
Hi.
Launched in 1999, and once he gets close to the Earth before actually going to Saturn, because it needed to get close to other planets to accelerate. It's kind of a tricky thing, but there was a way of spacefaring that's called swing by. When you get close to a planet or something that with strong gravity.
I see.
Depending on your position and the movement, there's a way that you can actually accelerate using the massive thing's movement and the gravity.
I see.
So this Cassini actually went to the opposite way. Actually, at first he traveled to. Actually, he traveled to
where?
Venus.
Venus. Oh, I see.
Kinsei. It's
Venus.
right.
Yes, Venus.
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 Actually, at first he traveled to Venus, and he did couple of swing bys to accelerate, and coming back to the Earth, and it again did another swing by with the Earth.
Oh.
It happened to be 1999.
Yeah.
So whoever wrote this book, thought that Cassini would crash to the Earth, failing the swing by.
Oh.
But it didn't really happen. I'd say it's scientifically feasible and scientifically possible. Yeah, things can go screwed.
Yeah.
So it was possible.
Yeah.
But after all, it didn't.
Yay!
It didn't really happen. So he safely went to Saturn. Good news.
Good news. So none of those prophets didn't come true. It sounds so far.
Yes. Actually, I find the Saturn theory kind of interesting. At least this guy knew pretty much. At least this guy had a little, pretty much better knowledge about what was happening back then.
Yes, agree. Yeah, agree.
Another theory was GPS malfunction.
Cool.
It's one interesting thing. Also, although it didn't really happen, so it's kind of a glitch that would be expected along with GPS and car navigation. Back then, GPS clock had to reset every 1,024 weeks.
Okay, about 20 years.
Yes, which was about 20 years because it counted things in 10 bits. So the maximum number that it could count was 2024.
I see.
The I don't know how to say. 2の10乗.
I forgot how to say. I learned in the mathematics class, but wait for a second, please.
Wait a second, please.
Yeah. 10. Not square, but what? How I could say? I totally forgot. Very long way back.
2 to the 10th power.
Power! Yes, power!
Which is 1024.
Okay, I see. Understood. Now.
So, due to GPS malfunction, some of the car navigation that was produced in Japan was expected to have some kind of malfunction or glitch. And this guy thought that it was going to be a serious consequence. Actually, a minor problem happened. But it wasn't that serious. It wasn't the end of the world.
I see.
Now that no worries, it's now updated so that it can count to 2 to the 13th power. So it wouldn't reset until like 2137. We still have 100 years and more.
Yay!
So we are safe.
Yeah.
We don't have to worry about GPS malfunction.
Yeah. No fucking, ridiculous profit will not come until, near to that year, I guess.
Although this didn't came true, that's another thing that's interesting. Next one, Jesus Christ.
Wow, well, very simple.
Very simple. Actually, it was advocated by Goto Ben himself.
Oh.
The first one, the first guy who wrote about Nostradamus. Not quite first, but yes, the one who introduced the 1999 prophecy.
はい。
So this theory appeared in the last of the Nostradamus series, 10th book.
Okay.
According to what he said in the book, he went all the way to France, visited places that has something to do with Nostradamus himself, and seeked primary sources that might help him decipher his poems, the particular verse, and that's his conclusion, Jesus Christ.
Jesus Christ! Wow!
So what happened was he met a group of monks who insist they know the truth of Nostradamus' prophecy. And he wrote the book based on their story. The truth that they revealed to him that there was actually another poem that is more important than the 1991. And it says, so, and in the poem, he saw a term, a French term, Advent. Advent.
I see.
It basically says a few weeks before Christmas. English language got the same term.
I see.
But like when you say second advent of Jesus Christ, it means that Jesus Christ is coming back to the earth. And yes, and that's when the final judgment happens.
I see.
So that was his conclusion. But it pretty much was a misunderstanding because in French term, Advent alone didn't really mean the Jesus Christ coming. It just says a few weeks before Christmas.
I see.
It has to like the second Advent. The verse itself just said the Advent. So it didn't specifically say the coming of Jesus Christ himself.
Oops. So totally.
So
misunderstanding.
Again, it totally was a bullshit.
Yeah, caused by kind of inadequate knowledge about the language.
Right.
Wow, that's bullshit. Yeah, I admit.
But it's a kind of a good theory to conclude all his series of 10 books about Nostradamus 1999, the King of Terror thing.
Okay, I see. Wow, kind of surprised.
And other than those, a flood of Nostradamus books, he actually triggered a supernatural thing boom in Japan starting from 1970. All those UFO thing, psychic thing, UMAs, and all the like yokai things suddenly became quite a mainstream of Japanese pop culture.
Wow.
Actually, there was so many TV programs that would decipher like mysterious alien footage or like mysterious UMF footage, like those Bigfoot footage of things.
Oh yeah, I have seen one of those TV show. As far as I remember.
So people suddenly became interested in all those supernatural, almost occultic things. That actually is another interesting topic. I know I'm gonna have to cover it.
Yeah.
But it's pretty much 40 minutes since we've started. So we're gonna finish. We're gonna finish just today.
Alright. So what's the conclusion of this thing? So
conclusion
in Japan, I don't know why, but the Nostradamus was really famous in the past. Maybe because of the the past current kind of social situation,
Yes, it totally was
or
about social
environmental
context.
issues, something like
Right,
that.
environmental issues and the massive development of society itself.
And that's why this Nostradamus prophet about the terror
And the end of the world.
end of the world became very famous
Became really
and
famous.
affects to many
So
Japanese
many
cultures,
people, yes.
something like
Got a huge impact on the main culture.
Okay,
On the mainstream culture.
I understand.
That pretty much is it. So take-home lesson is people were pretty much despaired of the society or the future by like 1970. Following all the tremendous, almost incredible development.
Interesting. Cool.
So people are more acceptant. People are more willing to accept just some supernatural things that doesn't necessarily be scientific or pretty much mystery things.
I see. Yeah, well, yeah, in like 1970 back then, we don't have internet yet, so there are little chances to check if that is correct or not. So
Fact check was really hard.
I believe so. So maybe that's
part of the reason.
one of the reason of this big boom.
Of this huge boom, yes.
Yeah. If everyone can check, this is just bullshit, mistake or something, it won't come that big, move.
At least those things wouldn't go mainstream.
I bet. I bet. Right. So, almost our presentation is over.
Yes,
so
it's over.
Let us check most of your comments. Really? Can you scroll up a bit, Hunt?
It's psychic power, like moving things without actually touching it, or bending spoon, forks, without really applying much forces.
Like Yuri Gela or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yuri Geller.
I don't know how to pronounce, but
I don't know how to properly pronounce.
Yeah, that's the name of one of very famous.
Right, zombify based on those kind of things, telekinesis, clairvoyance, and those sort of stuff.
Yep. So the Samurai Bell's comment, the world will end not with the bang, but with the whimper.
There was people like that back then, I guess. Pollution, I'm not actually sure. It might be different from like not French, UK English and American English.
I see. Sometimes the way of writing a little bit different.
China and India might start a war. Yes, that's one risk back then. Interestingly. And as all those pollution thing might still happen eventually, someday.
Yes.
But interesting thing is those predictions didn't really came true. None of them.
Maybe people were smarter than Nostradamus.
I wonder what Nostradamus would thought if he was told about how the year 2020 is going. I don't know. I guess he just laughed. I think people never change.
Possibly, he might do that. Yep.
Just need a DeLorean and flux capacitor. If we have one, we can actually go talk to Nostradamus and really ask what he meant.
Yes. That would be really wonderful. That would be become wonderful interview. Yep.
I really want to do that if it's possible.
Yep. So, thank you very much for all of your comments. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Kind of early time in the US. So, I'm really happy to welcome you all to this Tanucast. Thank you very much for coming. So, today's podcast is almost over.
We're gonna upload the podcast on my YouTube channel too. So please have a look.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe Twitter on your Twitter or whatever its social networks.
Yes.
It's much appreciated.
Yes.
So next streaming is going to be like Monday in the US time.
Yes.
Mhm.
Right. In the regular time.
Right.
We have not decided what to play it, but we will announce on Twitter or somewhere. Yeah. Anyway, thank you again.
Thank you so much for watching.
So until next time.
Hachan Tomo signing out. I'll try to make another podcast next week, so I'm sorry if I couldn't make it. Just in advance. But I'll try.
Yes.
So we'll see you soon.
Yep, see you soon.
Is Nostradamus still alive? None of us know, never.
Never.
He was like 16th century guy.
Woo!
Just
really
far
long
back
time
then.
ago.
And people have long pretty much studied about his prophecies. So we'll see you soon.
No.
Hopefully.
He's just the ridiculous guy, regular people.
So we will see you soon.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for watching.
Thank you.